Hey everybody, welcome back inside another exciting episode of The Stash Report from The Stash Project. Today is August 19th, 2019. We sort of skipped this past week, only because Japan was on vacation. I had actually planned to do this video for the 12th and just have it run, like a normal video. Work was an absolute insane asylum this week, pretty much for everybody I know. I had a really bad week at work. My wife had a really bad week at work. One of my really good friends who's also in the hobby, who lives here in Pennsylvania, also had a really crazy week at work. I know it was full moon this week, and maybe that's it, but whew, man, next week, just has to be better, right? Nowhere to go but up from here. Now, nothing like, oh my God, I quit my job or nothing like that, but just a really, really long days and just didn't have the gumption, knowing that Japan was on vacation this week, to go ahead and do this. Because basically what I was going to do was release the video on the 12th, and then this week coming, the 17th through whatever the hell the end of this week is, without a calendar in front of me, I was going to just upload some other content. I have a couple of things in the can that just need to be rendered and edited together that I was going to upload this week. I probably will still upload at least one or two of those videos anyway, because this is going to go out probably on Saturday night. And, hopefully nothing happens on Monday that makes me regret not holding this all the way till Monday, but be that as it may, I wanted to go ahead and get it out. So we have some kit releases this week, last week, from Japan, and as well as here in the United States. We have some kit announcement teases type of things to do from Revell, and then first up, we'll lead off with a sort of an update, if you will, to the tire decal situation over at Salvino's JR. I try to make sure that no matter what I personally feel about any given company or whatever, I try to maintain sort of a fair and balanced, minus the religious right and orange skin president, approach to this show. And with that, I want to go ahead and point out that one of the biggest sort of side issues to the entire, there's no Goodyear Eagle tire decals in the Richard Petty Oldsmobile kit, was the fact that they said, well, in the next Richard Petty kit, we're going to include those set of decals. I still don't, believe me, guys, I don't find this to be an acceptable solution to this problem. But one of the biggest problems was there was no next Richard Petty kit. So what Richard Petty kit were they going to be talking about exactly? So we finally got that this week. They put out a live video, I believe it was on Monday of this week, not really addressing the entire thing, but just going ahead and announcing this kit was going to be coming. And it is a 1981 Buick Regal, so they're popping out Buick Regals left and right now out there at the facility in California. And this is going to be his 1981 Daytona winning car, which is allegedly going to have two sets of Goodyear Eagle tire decals in it in order to replace the set that's missing out of the Oldsmobile. Also, the Buick Regal, the 1982, I believe, Daytona winning car from Bobby Allison, the Gatorade car, also was supposed to ship actually earlier this week. The way they were talking, the Buick was supposed to start shipping Monday night, and then the Richard Petty kit would start shipping this weekend. So that by the end of this month, both those kits should be in your preferred retailer of choice if you're interested in them. They did have to tool up a new tire tool for this. The tire, from what I understand, is a smooth side tire, and the decals are obviously now very, very important with that tire not having any kind of raised Goodyear Eagle emblem on it the way the original monogram tire had. This is not a situation where with this new tire in these monogram kits, you're going to be able to, just paint the tire, because that won't be something you can do. So the tire decals now become incredibly important, should they please not forget them again. So that's out there. Again, just want to cover it. Want to let you know what that next Richard Petty release is going to be. That it will be coming very, very quickly. It's jumping the line over several other projects that I know that they had planned already to remedy their way the situation with the Oldsmobile kit. They also showed a 3D CAD of a Pontiac Le Mans body that they're going to be making to fit the monogram 124 scale NASCAR chassis. So that's something to look forward to in the future if you're certainly a vintage NASCAR person. I think whenever I've looked at their page, the comments that are allowed to stay there, several of them asked for that Le Mans, so that is something that will be coming. I know due to the fact that Ralph Savino, who's Rick's dad, was heavily involved, was actually the head of SDP Motorsports back in the day. Their one sort of unstated goal of J.R. Salvino's, or Salvino's J.R. rather, is to do a model of every car Richard Petty ever raced. So there's quite a few bodies that will need to be made from the 1970s, obviously. So, keep that in mind if you're thinking about them in the future, about what other projects they might have on hand. Just think of what Richard Petty drove, and then think about, what cars those may begat the hobby as a whole. So, also last week was the IPMS Nationals down in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was a show I had originally thought about going to. Not so much to enter, but just to go. I know a lot of people were going to be there that I know from YouTube and Facebook and forums. Unfortunately, I forgot all about it. Completely and totally slipped my mind until my good friend Brett was like, "Hey, you coming down?" And I was like, "To what?" He's like, "The IPMS Nationals." I'm like, "Is that this week?" "Yes." "Oh, no." I am not. So fortunately, Brett was there, and he was kind enough to take some pictures of us for us from the Revell booth. I'm only going to show you a couple because they're the most interesting things. Everything else sort of covers bases we've already been around. First up, I want to talk about this. It is the solution to the mystery of what Impala is on this box art. You may recall that there was some box art shown on the board at the IPMS show up in Chicago. And it was very unclear, other than the fact that it was a 66 Impala, as to what in the world the model kit was. That it was going, was it going to be a convertible? It looked like a kind of a convertible because of the background to this. I'm going to put the image up now, and you see that there's a dock thing going on in that dark cloud, and the angle we had, it kind of looked like the roof of the car was black. Also, this box art is not exactly the same as the prototype drawing was, but you can see that it is just actually a straight reissue, more or less, of the 66 Impala Coupe. And this one actually says Impala SS on it, guys. It doesn't just say 396 SS. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I think this might have gotten combined with a 65 anyway, because I have a 66, just a street burner kit, the one that was released originally back in 2008 I believe 8 or 2009. And it's too far buried down in my stack of stuff to dig it out right now that I've thought about it. But I'm pretty sure it didn't come with all this lowrider stuff that is shown on the box art and the built display model. Nice display model, whoever built it, by the way, if you happen to be the person who did and you're watching this. Nice job. But I don't think those parts were in that kit when it came out. Maybe they were and I just don't remember. It's been so long since I've looked through that kit. Somewhere I have pictures of every parts tree in there. I don't know where they're at off the top of my head other than online somewhere, but I think that is a combination of maybe the 65 Impala lowrider pieces in there to make a 2-in-1 out of it, because I'm pretty sure that street burner is only built factory stock, and that's all there is to it. So the other thing, and this is going to be a brand new toolkit, you guys have known about it since since January 1st, rather, if you watch this channel that long, but this is the first in the flesh we've seen of it, and that is the new Land Rover Series 3 109 long wheelbase station wagon kit that is coming out of Revell in Germany. Now, this is going to, surprisingly, this is something we didn't know, have a U.S. rebox to it. So this is not a kit you're going to definitely need to source from Europe or pay the slightly higher Revell Germany boxing price for. There is going to be a U.S. rebox of this. There's no definitive release date on it, but based on the trend of this board that gets taken around to these different shows and when those kits are being released, I would say maybe by the beginning of the fourth quarter, perhaps. Maybe we'll see this as a late October release. I believe some of the vendors in Europe are showing like a September-October release date, and right now the gap between the two things really isn't as bad as it used to be. It used to be that if a kit was released by Revell of Germany and it was going to get a U.S. reboxing, it would be months later, like 2, 3, 4 months later, usually a whole quarter later, that we would get that kit in the United States. Obviously, with Revell Germany being Revell now, and there being a U.S. division office here, the releases between the two have been much, much closer. Some of your hobby shops may not necessarily be carrying Revell of Germany kits instantaneously, like the reissue of the Chevelle in a Revell of Germany box, because, as a U.S. hobby shop, why do you really need to carry that? Who's going to buy the German version for like $5 more than the U.S. boxing would necessarily? But Be that as may, here are the parts runners for it. Let's take a good look here. There are other shots online, but I just want to use Brett's since he was kind enough to take the pictures. But you see here, this is going to be a full detail kit. It was like level 3, and that's kind of a sketchy area for Revell Germany's old scale in terms of what was going to be there, because some of the skill level 3 things have been a little dicey as to like the contents. But this really, guys, looks nice. I'm not a Land Rover expert by any stretch of the imagination, but this is certainly something that is going to be one of those hobby shop stocks that I'm there the following Saturday type of deals, because this is something I'm very interested in. It's been a long time since there's been a Land Rover kit or a Range Rover kit released. The last one will be that Aoshima Revell of Germany one from the 1990s. All of these Series 3 type kits, the monogram tooling doesn't exist anymore. The Italeri tooling that's getting reissued is like the fire truck. It's a 109 two-door. It's a curbside from the 70s, 80s. Even the 1980s two-door Range Rover that was recently reissued this year by Italeri as like a police car. Even that's a curbside, based way back when. So this is like obviously an all-new tooling. You cannot possibly look at this picture and tell me, oh, well, that's that other. No, it's not. There was a lot of that going on when this kit was announced. It's just going to be this reissue. It's just going to be that reissued. And, start talking to people who know, and they're like, no, this is going to be a brand new tool kit. That's going to be a brand new tool kit. Oh, no, it's not. It's going to be a reissue of the, okay, now look at this and tell me all about what parts you see in front of you here that are anything to do with any other kit. They're not. It's brand new. So, like I said, full detail. It is going to be available with a left-hand drive and a right-hand drive dashboard in it, so you can build an export version. There's a spirited but very jovial debate online recently about the fact that Range Rovers, or Land Rovers rather, should only come in right-hand drive because they're a British car, but they did sell them outside of the UK, of course, and outside of the, the motherland, as it were, the empire. So, a lot of pictures I've seen of people posting left-hand drive ones have been from Spain. Apparently Spain had a very large Land Rover following back in the day when this was a new car. So anyway, there is, from what we've seen from the European vendors, 2 different kit numbers for this. One is an Easy Click, which is a snap tight kit, and the other one's a glue kit. This you saw in front of you, I guess, because at this point it's probably gone from the screen. But what you saw in front of you is obviously a glue kit. It's full detail. It's 100 plus pieces. But you can kind of see with that, if you want to go back and look at it, some pieces like the interior where it looks like the seats snap into the interior and stuff like that. But full engine, ladder, the frame is separate from the floor pan and side door cards. Not a tub interior or anything else like that. So it looks very good. 5 tires, so even the spare is rubber. It is definitely something that I really am looking forward to. I think it's just going to be a really cool kit. The one comment I've seen online is the fact that the spare tire mounts to the Desert Expedition roof that this kit comes with, which is a secondary roof that ran a little bit above the regular sheet metal roof to sort of dissipate the heat for hot weather areas. And there was some debate about the fact that the spare tire wouldn't be supportable by that aluminum roof that was over the steel roof. But the actual car, they 3D scanned this, so bravo for taking that time. Does have the thing does have the spare tire mounted to the roof. It became I've never seen one like that. Well, there's one right there. Well, I've never seen one besides that. Okay. It would take a lot of surgery, I think, to mount it to the hood, because there was sort of a pie dish type of thing that was, bolted or either part of the hood or bolted to the hood afterwards to mount the spare tire on the hood. And of course, the other place would be the door. If you don't want it on the roof and you don't feel like doing scratch building for the door or the hood mount, a lot of people gave up a little bit of interior space and mounted them into the inside of the back, in the back cargo area. So that's another option if you don't want it sitting up on the roof. So let's talk about kit releases. Is that pretty much... Oh, wait, hang on. We got to do kit announcements. I was just going to plow right through this. I've been thinking about this video for so long, I've just totally forgot about what I have and haven't talked about. Now, we were talking about this, the fact that the All Japan Model and Hobby Show is coming up at the end of September. And I said, well, we probably won't get any release announcements from Hasegawa or anything else like that prior to the show. And then I had forgotten all about the fact that they have been holidays in Japan this week, or this past week. starting on the Monday the 12th. And Japan's a great country for vacation. I mean, they got 15 federal holidays. All of them are on a Monday, and then they have a week of vacation in the middle of the beginning of the fall, a week of vacation after Christmas, and a week of vacation in the middle of May. Now, obviously, if you're a cop or a firefighter or a doctor or a service worker, like a food service worker or whatever, yeah, you probably aren't getting the whole week off. But everybody else pretty much gets the whole week off. Right now, none of the vendors in Japan have been open all week. HobbyLink, Hobby Search, all Studio, even like the company, Studio 27. You try to go on Fujimi's website right now, you got a message on there saying we'll be back after vacation. So, man, that's great. 3 weeks of vacation and 15 3-day weekends on top of the vacation. What can I possibly do as an English-speaking America from Pennsylvania guy do in Japan where I can move over there and get all that vacation time? But be that as it may, because that vacation was coming, Hasegawa went ahead and put out their October announcements, and Aoshima went out and put out their November announcements. So much like Shizuoka, last year's All Japan Model and Hobby Show, it looks like the new stuff from Aoshima is sticking to a middle of the year, end of the year release. You may recall all of the Shizuoka Hobby Show stuff was supposed to come out in July. The only thing that was missing was the taxis, and they're coming out this month. And then their All Japan Model and Hobby Show stuff is going to come out in December. So they could do the August stuff and not spoil anything. So at Hasegawa in the month of October, we are going to get a straight reissue of the BMW 320i street car, a straight reissue of the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 3 street car, a reissue of the 1966 Cadillac. Now, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, God, I didn't even get a whole year since that got released. Yeah, you're right. But this time is being released with a resin bikini girl. Apparently, guys, the resin bikini kits are selling much better than the two kits that came without them. So I don't know if they're going to reissue both of them, but they're certainly going to reissue the 66 Cadillac with a resin. I think they're actually injected molded, or there might be resin. I have to look. But at any rate, it's coming with another bikini girl. So ta-da! If you didn't buy one because it was molded in like banana yellow, now it won't be, because everything I've seen about it is white, and it's going to come with a bikini girl. So bonus for you who waited, I guess. We're going to get a reissue of the Jaguar XJR8 IMSA Sprint body. There was a Le Mans body to this, and a Sprint body, a non-endurance version. So the Sprint version is getting reissued, and they're also going to be reissuing what they're calling Jaguar XJR8 decals. I would expect these will be a small, based on the price, small sheet of decals that will include the silk cut livery for the model kit, because that Sprint version of that model kit doesn't come with the tobacco livery in it. So you might have to buy the decals to get the livery, which was what you had to do anyway. But now Hasegawa is going to provide them at an slightly extra cost. We're going to get a reissue of the Mazda 767B car in the Nave construction livery from the 1991 Japanese sports car prototype series. This would be the other 767 that was still running at that time. I guess there were two of them. Everything else had moved to the 787 that ran in Le Mans at the very end of the 1980s. Reissue of the BMW 2002 Ti in its rally format. This time it is going to be the 1969 Monte Carlo Rally, and this will be the class-winning car. So a little podium action for your 2002 rally fans. We're going to get a reissue of the Datsun Fairlady Z, what is being known as the Mr. K 50th Anniversary Edition. So, I said Datsun, not Nissan. So this is going to be another reissue of the left-hand drive US spec Fairlady Z, or the 240Z, as we would call them here in the in the US of A. I mean, first of all, why not, right? Who doesn't need more? But if you're thinking to yourself, man, that seems like a kind of a silly reissue, I'm not exactly sure what we're doing with that. This connects very nicely into the Tamiya kit, actually. You may recall that middle of last year, or the beginning of this year, I believe it was, we got a reissue of the Nissan 370Z, and it was something called the Heritage Edition version, which is a trim level only available here in the United States, which celebrates effectively what is the 50th anniversary of the Z car coming to the United States. Well, Mr. K, in this sense, is a gentleman who's known as Yutuka Katayama. And Katayama-san was the president of Datsun Nissan Motors USA. and he loved the 240Z. Was known colloquially as Mr. K here because nobody can, of course, pronounce Japanese, and his favorite color was yellow, which is why the 370Z Heritage Edition box art car also yellow. So technically speaking, the 240Z didn't come to the country until 1970. Was originally a 1969 car as a 1970 model, so that's where your 50th anniversary gets a little foggy. But I think it's a very cool thing. If you haven't already bought one of the left-hand drive 240Zs and you've been thinking about it, but you own one of the 370Zs from Tamiya, this would be a very nice companion piece to have sort of sit, side by side, two yellow cars, or do the modern one in one of the other car colors that it came in. The Heritage Edition is available in yellow, black, red, white, and blue at this point. Yellow and black being the original colors that 240Z was available in. Like the first month it came over here, they only were imported in those two colors, and then the rest of the color combinations came around. And obviously red, white, and blue for the United States. So at any rate, I think that's kind of a cool little tribute to the president of Nissan Motors here. And then lastly, we're going to get a reissue of the Honda Ferio, which of course is the four-door Civic. Sorry, somebody was instant messaging me there. Just taking a peek at what's going on. And this is going to be in the Gathers Honda audio stereo livery. Apparently Gathers was a Japanese company that did stereos for Hondas. Who knew? Anyway, this is the 1994 JTCC car, and with this reissue, this is a brand new livery, much like the big Honda Ferio the numbers 88 car was. This is a brand new livery. It's not been done before. It's a reissue of this kit. I mean, you've seen one Ferio JTCC car. You've seen them all. But with this livery out there, this will be every single Honda Civic that ran in 1994 JTCC season. Now, I would like to personally take credit for the fact that I've been pimping JTCC along with the GT3 stuff so much that they're just doing this to make me happy. But of course, that's ridiculous. It's just a very, very popular thing right now. But am I going to sit here and complain even a little bit that they've now done all of those? Absolutely not. Golf clap to Hasegawa for making my day. Now, please go do all the rest of the deliveries for the 318i's. Yes, I'm never satisfied. But, I mean, really, there are like 6 BMWs that ran in 1994. And if you did the liveries to the BMWs, the only things you wouldn't have like available to build for the 94 JTCC season would be like the Mazda Lantises that ran that year. And it's a couple other really screwball, oddball things like the Opel Vauxhall Cavalier that HKS Motorsports ran. So please, can we have more BMWs, please? We see that with the release coming in September, they're going to be taking the Corolla 11s in from the 92 season into the 93 season. So yes, please, I will buy every single livery option, even if you just sell them as decals. I will buy base kits. Don't worry about it. I got you here. So over to Aoshima for November. So we're going to get a couple of reissues. Well, all this stuff is reissued, but a couple of reissues in the model car lineup, a couple of reissues in the Tune model car lineup. In the Tune model car lineup, you're going to get the 1995 Toyota Hilux 4x4. Now, this is going to be like a raised up sort of off-roady monster truck-ish, big super swamper type 4x4 rather than just being a standard height factory 4-wheel drive. This is the long bed version, which has not been reissued as of yet in this new series. And, they've reissued this kit sort of with the, on the Super Swampers, with the 4-door cab and the short bed. So this is a standard cab with a long bed. So it's another option for you if you're into those. They're going to also, in the Tune model car lineup, re-add the 1996 Honda Accord wagon in the Wings West VIP tuner-ish type of thing for the wagon. So we're going to get the Hippo Sleek Legacy back in October and the Wings West version of the Accord, which is probably the most, again, just because it hasn't been around for quite a while, most sought-after version of the tuner Accord wagons. So that's going to make a comeback. In the model car lineup, you're going to get a reissue of the Subaru Sambar Fire Truck. Now, this has had 2 releases in the past. The first one was like a 2012 Subaru Sambar, and it was specific to the city of Fuji and one of its fire stations, and then they reissued it again with some parts to backdate it to a 2007 Sambar, and it was specifically for the Subaru factory in Japan that does their engines and transmissions. This kit is going to take all of those parts, combine them into one box, so you can build it as a late or an early, as well as all the firefighting equipment, because some of it was specific to the factory, and some of it was specific to the industrial fire department that it belonged to in Fuji. And yeah, you'll be able to build it however you want to. Obviously, a new decal sheet, taking all those markings and combining them one to one. But if you happen to be like one of those things where you're interested in that, but you never got one, your chance is coming right back up. And then the other thing, which I personally find interesting, I wish I didn't have all of these things already bought, but be that as it may, they're going to be reissuing their Toyota Crown GRS 182 kit. Now, the GRS 182 was the sort of first generation of the modern Toyota Crown Royal and Crown Athlete that started in 2003. They're going to take all of the parts from the first 4 of these kits, possibly the first 6 of these kits, if they include the 25th anniversary badging, and put it all into one box. So you will be able to build either a 2003 Crown Royal, or a 2003 Crown Athlete, or a 2005 Crown Royal, or a 2005 Crown Athlete. The differences between a 2003 and a 2005 are like bumpers and wheels and things like that, so the differences are very, very minor. But none of these kits have been available since they were originally released. Now, they've been released as like VIP cars a couple of times, but as factory stock cars, these cars have not been available since the early 2000s. So if this is something you're interested in, like building your Tron collection backwards from the new cars backwards, this is a great opportunity. Now, I did order one of them on pre-order because I think it's my 2003 Crown Royal that I got from off eBay here in the United States. Looks like somebody sat on the body. It's got a little to the roof. So, you know, for $19, $20, whatever this is going to cost, it's worth buying just to get me a mint fresh out of the mold body to put into that kit. And then maybe since I will have, you know, those, I wanted to start building them in 2003 and build them through the new cars. Maybe now that I have the ability to build the first car out of that series, because the Crown Royal came first, you know, maybe I'll start working on that series. I've 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of those. And then there's a Resin 2017 one coming out in September from Modelers Interallied. So yeah, I got 13 of those to build. I should probably start. I probably could take the body out of something else, I guess. Technically, I think the points at 2005, 2003 have the same bodies. But anyway, I have many projects, obviously. We'll see what we get to. So, like I said, I think that's very cool, just like, again, from the aspect of those kits not being available, and the fact that it's really a 4-in-1 when it comes down to it. The last thing we're going to mention from November from Aoshima is the reissue of what they're calling the Wings Volume 1 and Wings Volume 2 collections. These are little boxes. They're about $8, and they each have 3 spoilers, wings, in them. And they're sort of GT1 through GT3 inspired wings. Some are very straight. Some are curved on the ends. It's kind of like the Ings Wings thing that Tamiya did. And so, like I said, I'll grab one of each because for $8, I got 6 spoilers if I want to throw them on the back of something. And it's just, you know, just to have around in case the spirit moves me. So those are going to, like I said, come back in November for anyone who's interested. Now, we shall go to the kit releases. So we have one release this week from the domestic side of things, and it is this from round 2, the Coca-Cola liveried 1940 Willys pickup truck, the Gasser. Yes. So this is just a straight reissue of the 40s Willys Gasser. Nothing has been done to it other than sticking a Coca-Cola decal sheet inside of it. I know people are tired of the Coca-Cola stuff. I will say that if you're tired of the Coca-Cola stuff, you may want to get off the ride now. Because we are just starting to climb the hill. We're sitting there getting ching pulled up by the chain. We ain't nowhere even near the top to drop down on the other side. Sorry to tell you that, but yeah, we're only getting started with this. Sorry. So that's out, and then over to Japan, where we had some releases from Fujimi, some releases from Hasegawa, and some releases from Aoshima. So starting over at Fujimi, we got the 2 kits this month that are like sort of, you know, the frontline kits. There's a bunch of reissues this month, but these are the ones that were the sort of important ones, if you will. Reissue of the Nissan Stagea in the Autech 260RS and the 25X versions. So this very much is the 2-in-1. I was looking at my Stagea. I have a Stagea. Let's see, what is it? An RS4V. So it's a different trim level than this one. Anyway, the 25X is a 2.5 liter all-wheel drive wagon. The 260 RS is obviously a body-kitted BBS wearing. I think it might have had a slight engine tune to them as well. Version by the Autech Tuning House. There are no two bodies here. This is just everything is done in terms of bumpers, wheels, trim. There's some interior differences between the two, but it is one body. They do include some photo etch for the 25X logos for the grille and the rear deck and the 25X like the rear hatch logo. So that's kind of cool. It's been a little while since because the 25X4 has been reissued since it came out, but I don't think it had the photo etch in it the last time. The 260 RS Autech, I don't believe has ever been reissued since its Millennium edition from 2000. So yeah, that's been a while. That's something that has not been around for quite a while for fans of Nissan. And then the other kit from Fujimi is this, the very, very basic curbside version of the Toyota Mark II 2.0 GT Twin Turbo. I was confused because the literature was like double speaking, talking about an engine, but talking about a simplified chassis. Anybody who has these kits that were reissued, I think I want to say 2.5, maybe 3 years ago now, that came with the engines from the High Mecha series put back in, you know those chassis are not like fully like what we consider to be a chassis here in the United States, because the transmission is still molded into the chassis. It is much, much more complex. This is an old motorized chassis. It's got like a metal axle for the rear axle. The nail the rivets into the wheel things for the front, and the tongue depressor that holds the wheels on the turning thing. So this was last seen in the Tokay Mountain Pass series probably 4 years ago, and it's usually like a $13 model kit for people who just want a Mark II, but they don't want to pay for the $25, $30 version one with the engine. So yeah, it's back out again, I guess. I mean, not I guess, I mean it is, but for people who are interested in that sort of thing, you know, do your own thing to it, not worry about building it factory stock. Over at Hasegawa, 2 race cars. These are both reissues, but they a little obscure, I guess. First up is the Leighton House Porsche 962C. Now, this is not the Leighton House Porsche that got reissued a couple years ago. This is a slightly different livery for the 1987 WEC season, which was really the World Sports Car Prototype Series at the time. Japanese stop. So there is a Japanese sports car prototype series, which is a Group C car series that ran only in Japan, that has a bunch of models from Hasegawa in it that they've released over time. This particular one is a car that was sent over from Germany because there is one stop for WEC at the Fujimi 500 kilometers, and this car was shipped over with the German drivers to run. Did not do particularly well. I don't actually think it finished, but yeah, it's a German car and a Japanese racing series, more than the other German cars that were in the Japanese race. There were Porsche 962Cs in Japanese sports car prototype series, but these guys didn't run the whole series. They only ran the one race. So that's, like I said, kind of obscure, but that's back out. And then we got another one of their 124 scale Formula 3000 cars. This is the Wacoal or Wakiol or Wasol, however you pronounce that. Dome Reynard 89D. So this is a Mugen Honda powered Formula 3000 car. This was driven by Ross Cheever, who is one of Eddie Cheever's brothers, and he was really successful in this car. We talk about these coming up, and it's usually like, it won a race, and then it was disaster the rest of the time. This car in particular, Ross Cheever won 2 races and finished second in the other 8. Yes, that's right, the other 8. There were 10 rounds to Formula 3000 in Japan. He won 2 of them and finished second in the other 8. That was not enough to win the championship, however. He finished second to a Japanese driver. So this kit, as it comes with a livery in it, you do have to paint like the bottom part of the two-tone, the gray or pink or whatever that color is supposed to be. It looks more gray on the decals than it does pink on the box art, but whatever. But you have to paint the bottom of the tub and the bottom of the air intakes that color, which there's a mix for it on the instruction sheet. And then all of the stripes above that are on the decal sheet. So just something to take into consideration on how much you want to do a two-tone with that. But again, this is probably one of the more successful, other than the championship car from 1990. This is probably the most successful one of these that they did in terms of how the car actually finished. And that'll take us over to Aoshima for a couple of things. A couple of straight reissue restocks. First up, the 1989 Nissan Skyline GTR R32. I really like this box art. I got a thing for dark gray R32s in the first place. So this, checks that box nicely. And it's just the side profile of the real car. Just classy, clean, nice. I made all these comments like 3 years ago when it was released. Actually, last year when it was originally released. But yeah, so that's back out. And then also we got a release this week of the Lamborghini Murcielago RSV from 2010. I was just talking to somebody today about, again, how much I wish Aoshima would revive the Lamborghini racing program they had originally planned to do. This kit did not sell very well. And it's unfortunate, but also very predictable, because this car was a GT1 car. Now, GT1 only ran for like 2 or 3 years, first of all. And then second of all, like, there were only a couple of these in GT1. There was one livery, and Diego Racing Decals 43 did it for the J-Lock, which is the Japanese Lamborghini Owners Club car that ran the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2011. And that's it. Like, the Ryder Engineering car, the All-Inkle car, and that Le Mans car are pretty much all that this car did. And I'm sure if you dug around long and hard enough, you could find one of these cars showed up somewhere after it was retired in a race series nobody's ever heard of, type of thing. But the RGT, which was run in 2007, and it's a significantly different car in terms of the front and rear end and the ground effects and things like that, was the car that was run in several race series. There are 5 sets of decals from Studio 27 for the 2007 car. They kind of just picked the, they were throwing darts at the board about what year to make this. They kind of just chose the wrong one. And it's doomed, for whatever reason, the entire rest of the racing series. Every GT3 fan out there wants a Huracan GT3 and a Huracan Evo GT3 at this point, because the Evo versions of the car are out. And we would like to get them prior to whatever the next version of the car will be in 2022, because in 2021, 2022, all of the GT3 cars are set to recycle into their next car. Like the M6 is probably going to go over to the M4. The next version of whatever the AMG GT will be out. I mean, there's a GT Evo that was introduced this year and will be the 2020 car with a different front end on it than the current AMG GT. But the replacement for the AMG GT3 will be out in 2022. It'd be great if we could have a Huracan Evo before we have to change the car to something else. But everything I keep hearing is that the Japanese mindset on this is they won't sell. And my question to the person who lives in Asia was, okay, so what are we going to sell more of to the U.S. consumer? A Huracan GT3 kit or a Japanese taxi? He's like, well, I know, but they don't think that way. Unfortunately, ever since their head of international sales left a couple of years ago, Aoshima has become very inward-facing, much like the way Fujimi is, where it is very focused on Japanese things, which is fine. It's a Japanese company. Some would argue that that's what they should be focused on and leave the rest of the stuff to another company. I don't know what company that is, because Revell of Germany clearly doesn't make Ferraris anymore. It's not like they're going to start making Lamborghinis either. Sometimes you make a little bit of a mistake and you just, swallow your pride. You go for the next thing. And if that thing is a dud too, then maybe all of us are wrong as to what would sell very well in terms of a next kit. Really, you could change this into a 2007 without that many huge issues. Might certainly require new front and rear ends, but it might be something you could do without actually modifying the body tool, depending on how you address the hood in it. I don't know. That's just me, though. It's just we just had this conversation before I started recording this video, so that's why it's so freshly disappointing to me. But it's just, to me, very sad to see it just sort of dead end and not go anywhere, when you could do the Huracan Evo GT3 cars, the Gallardo GT3 car. There's probably 4 or 5 cars you could make if you wanted to make Lamborghinis for the last, say, 5 to 8 years in terms of racing series, and have it go somewhere. Like well, we did the Aoshima Diablo GTR, and nobody, no, it didn't go anywhere. Well, the Diablo GTR, while it's a very cool car, there are only like 27 of them made for a single make racing series, and then most of them evaporate off the face of the earth, other than the one that went to Australian Touring, got labeled for the Donut King livery, and then won the Australian Touring Car Championship 2 years in a row. But other than that, you try to find some pictures of those cars. There's one website that's dedicated to like Lamborghini race cars that has some of the original cars as they were run in that single make series. But trying to find photo references enough to make some decals for that thing, it's really complicated. Well, I mean, not that the designs are complicated, but just trying to get like pictures of all sides of the car. Like if you really want to make decals for something, you need a good sort of 3/4 front shot, a good side profile, a good 3/4 rear shot, maybe a good straight-on back end shot if the back end has a lot of stuff going on with it. And then you need a picture of the bottom of the spoiler, the top of the spoiler, and ideally some sort of elevated view of the car so you can see what the hood has on it and the roof has on it and things like that. There's some pictures of it that are out there, but they're all like, track level, straight-on shots of the car coming into a corner. And it's like, I can tell nothing from this, and I can't do anything with that. So anyway, enough of that babbling. The last kit we're going to talk about in this video and get this over with is this. It is a modified reissue because, well, it has no decals. It is the Mazda Familia van from 2018. It is a rebadged Toyota Pro box. This one checks my eclectic Japanese car box because the Toyota Pro box is already something that's weirdly odd to be released as a model kit, and now you have this, the Mazda version of it. Now, I'm sure the seats are still in there, but the way the instructions go to build this up, you put in the floor pan sort of divider sheet metal thing that divides the passenger compartment from the cargo compartment, but you don't actually install the seats into it. This, as it is sold in Japan, is a commercial van only. It has 2 seats, the driver and the passenger. That's it. There's nothing back here. You ain't putting nobody in the car. The Pro Box is available as a passenger car. That's why there's the special edition one that had a blue box art that had hubcaps and was sort of color keyed everything, not steelies and black bumpers and wheels and all that, and mirrors and that kind of thing. Familia is not a passenger vehicle. It is only a commercial van. This would make a great Japanese shop truck or parked running thing. But again, Huracan Evo GT3, Mazda Familia van. We'll guess that me and a couple other people, the only people that are going to get these in the United States. It's certainly not something that a hobby shop's going to carry. And, yeah. I hope it sells well in Japan. I mean, the tooling sort of amortizes itself because there's already been 2 Pro boxes. Now this Familia. The way the front end is constructed, they could very easily backdate the Pro box to the pre-2014 body style. But I gotta wonder sometimes, just having this, like I said, having this conversation with my friend about these, and the fact that Hobby Design's new Alpha Models division had, they did the Bugattis, and those got a lot of traction on things like the Scale Modeler channel. And then they did a couple of Ferrari convertibles, which I could take or leave in terms of whether or not I want one. But then they did a 488 GTB, and then they did Portofino, which is the replacement of the Ferrari California. And then they did an 812 Superfast. And then they did a GT4C Lusso, which is the shooting brake Ferrari, the replacement to the FF. This is all things that Revell of Germany or Fujimi or Tamiya should have taken care of, but didn't. There's an upcoming Lamborghini Huracan Evo street car, because the Evo name got added to the Huracan in 2018, the new model of the Huracan. That, the Centenario, both in the coupe and a convertible version. And then, I don't think I've shown it on here, but there's going to be a McLaren and 3 Aston Martins. Theoretically, before the end of the year, we're probably going, probably into the first half of 2020 with some of those things. But the 4 Ferraris are out right now. I'm not sure where the Huracan Evo is in terms of its progress, but technically speaking, by kit number, it should be the next thing out. So the Centenarios are getting a lot of play and advertising by Alpha right now on Facebook, and those other things are probably in development. I mean, 3D pictures of them exist. And it comes down to the fact that those are, at minimum, about 8 or 9 resin trans kits at $150 a piece that I really, really want to get my hands on, because there are things that I would want for my Ferrari collection, for my Lamborghini collection. I really don't, the only Aston Martin that really exists is either the old James Bond car or the Tamiya DBS. But Aston Martins are cool cars regardless. I really don't understand why I got to pay so much money to get a trans. I mean, some of these are curbside. Some of them have engine detail. Like the Centenario has it looks like it has an actual engine to it. The way the Lamborghini Aoshima engines are, like it doesn't have a bottom to it, but it sits in a engine bay kind of thing. There's just the top of the engine of the 488 GTB when you look through the back glass. But I don't understand why my only choice for some of this stuff is a really, really expensive resin kit. Some of this stuff should have been done by some model company somewhere. It's very much like the Nissan GTRs, the R35s. There's no 2017, which is a slightly modified version of the kit that Aoshima already does. Why was there never a reissued version of that from Aoshima? We got those 5 goofy Liberty Walk ones. One of the Liberty Walk ones actually has the parts to convert it to a 2017 car if you could find a stock front end for it, which, isn't what comes with the kit from the Liberty Walk angle. But we don't have any model kits of that. I didn't have to, but I had to go buy 2 $80+ resin kits to get a 2017 GTR and a 2017 GTR Nismo. We never did get a 2015 GTR Nismo, even though that was something that was promised back in 2016 when the 2015 kits were released. I don't understand exactly where things are, because if you sit there and go, well, James, the economy is kind of iffy right now. A lot of talk about recession and things like that. That is the great thing about modeling. It tends to flourish during recessions because you guys can't go fix your one-to-one car. You can't have a boat. You can't do really expensive hobbies because nobody's got any money. So hobbies always seem to surge whenever the economy is down. You think about it, Revell was purchased by Hobbico in 2008 and sort of had a resurgence from that point. Round 2 purchased AMT Erdl, or at least started leasing the tooling in 2007, 2008, and they've had their resurgence since. A lot of what we see now as new companies, Belkits, BMAX, and especially Belkits, but BMAX, came up in the 2010, 2012 period when the economy was crap, but the hobby gets a whole bunch of money put into it because, well, you can't do your really, really expensive hobbies, so I'm going to take this, well, not that, because that's an expensive resin transcript, but I'm going to take my, $10, $17 Miata, and I'm going to go build that at $17. I can afford 17. I can't afford a real Miata, but I can afford the model. So maybe we will see a turn in the hobby if the economy continues to take a turn downwards. I'm in trucking. We tend to see this stuff a little further in advance than everybody else. It's kind of hard to tell from my perspective because I only do one thing with a couple of customers, and at least from one end of it, it's food service. So food never really falls completely off the face of the cliff because people got to eat. They may not go out and buy steak rather than ground meat, but they still got to eat. And what I do is take a tin plate for cans to a place in Pennsylvania. People eat canned food when times get tough because canned food's cheap. So anyway, I look at some of the stuff and it puzzles me as to where things are going. And I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. Anyway, guys, I have babbled on for long enough for this one. It's 2 weeks worth of video in one. Should have warned you at the beginning, I guess. So, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys on the other side.